This show is proudly brought to you by the #Me Network.
Kia ora, and thanks so much for tuning into episode 45 of Access Granted, a weekly Kiwi tech and media podcast. I'm Raj, my background's in film, design, media and technology.
And I'm Mike, and my background is explaining stuff, connecting people and getting things done. You're here because you're a Kiwi that either works in or has a great passion for tech or media in New Zealand.
Episode 45, let's catch up with James Jackson Wood, co-founder of ORA Safety and Health and chief media wrangler at Pledge Me.
Excellent. Righty-ho, we're going to talk about making this podcast sustainable.
Yeah, it's on the to-do list.
It is. So we're getting there. Patreon is coming along, and we'll be honest, it's been tough. It's been tough squeezing the podcast in amongst all our other commitments, such as July's GovHack New Zealand, the slightly mental project of tackling New Zealand's government procurement woes, changing companies' whole raison d'etre, and trying to remember that we have wives and they have kids and so do we, and oh my god.
Oh, life gets in the way, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
we have set up the system, and now we need to make a 30-second video that'll showcase us and our podcast. And we'd love to have the photos of our listeners. If you're up for that, tweet us at AccessGrantedNZ with a little picky. Send one via you can send one via the email address, accessgranted at #me.co.nz. Thanks so much. That'd be really cool, actually.
yes, pictures of our listeners in whatever state you want to put in there. It will go public, so we won't be using the nude ones. But
it's for personal use only.
That's right.
Yeah.
Please, it'd be great if you could just show a little bit of support for us and send through your pictures of yourself listening, possibly, to the podcast. That'd be great.
Yeah, that's cool. And
this week's chat was with James Jackson Wood. Yet again, I get to sit back and enjoy the interview, as this was Raj flying solo again. We really need to put a stop to this, buddy, before I got this.
Well, you're busy, you know.
Yes.
Things happen.
No more. And James happens to be a pod buddy. Pod is probably the wrong phrase. A Bids Dojo buddy of mine.
Yeah, a neighbour.
A neighbour here in Wellington. Through his media work with Pledge Me. Pledge Me are based here as well. But that's just not enough for James. He's co-founder of ORA Safety and Health. Is that right?
Yes.
Listen up and enjoy James and Raj.
Right, listeners, we're here at Golding, Studio 1 again, and Mike is unfortunately away, but I'm here with Jackson Wood from ORA, who has an interesting new app out there that people will be quite interested in, considering the new laws that have come into place for drinking and driving. Oh, and on top of that, they've got a focus on workplace safety. So welcome to the show, Jackson. Appreciate your time.
Hi, how's it going?
Yeah, good, thanks. And then the first question we always ask our people, our interviewees, is what makes you happy?
What makes me happy? That is a question that is stumping me. But I guess the thing that's made me most happy lately is driving my own workflow and being my own boss, because I used to work for a couple of NGOs and other things, and just
is this the first sort of startup you're jumping into? Or?
Yes, it's the first startup, and so being able to work collaboratively with Sam and Catherine and Liam, and being able to just figure out what my skills are and how they complement everyone else's, and then just go and do work and see the fruit of that work straight away. That has just made me so happy.
Now, how long has it been going? How long till from sort of beginning to the stage you're at now?
So the idea for ORA came during a car ride that Catherine and I were having in June. Yeah, it must have been June last year. And how that came about is we were working at this. I just quit working at this place. She was still working there, and we were just casting around for ways to make the world a better place. And she, we heard a story. We were both working in drug policy, and she had heard a story on the radio about some guy who had been fired from his job after he had an accident. And after the accident, they drug tested him, and he came back positive for cannabis.
Right.
And from the story, it sounded like he wasn't high or stoned at the time of the accident. It's just that cannabis stays in your system for up to 6 weeks, usually about 3 or 4.
Right.
And we thought there must be a better way, because actually staying in paid employment is a good preventative factor from heavy drug use. So we're like, well, there must be a better way, and there must be an app for that. And so, like, just in this car ride, we Googled, and there wasn't anything there. And we're like, oh yeah. This might be something here, and so then I went and talked to one of my friends, Dave Clearwater, at the Akina Foundation, and he was like, well, we've got this accelerator program coming up called the Launchpad. Put down your idea on paper, like it sounds like it could be interesting, you need to like think about it some more, but if you don't get in, you haven't lost anything. If you get in, you get in, and that's awesome. So we put it down on paper. 133 other teams applied to get into the Launchpad, the Keena's Launchpad program, and we somehow made it into the final 11 that got into the program. And so that started late last year. And
it's
so,
based in Wellington?
Yeah. Oh no, it's nationwide.
Okay.
We've been going between workshops here in Wellington and Auckland.
Okay.
But there are teams as far south as Dunedin, as far north as Kaikohe. And yeah, it's just been an amazing journey. And over the past 6 months, so it started off with me and Catherine. We got Sam Parkin on board and Liam Tohu. And so teams doubled. We went from like a vague idea to like a fully formed idea. We've built our first prototype for that, and some other things as well along the way. And we've just gone out for our first round of investment.
Nice.
Pretty fast moving.
That is, yeah.
That's why they call it an accelerator, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, that's quite interesting. So the pace you move, I mean, what was it like when you're in the incubator system, when you're in session? What was that like?
It was pretty intense.
Because you're almost blocked off from the world, just intense focus on what you're doing.
So it was kind of a bit different to like say Lightning Lab or Icehouse or any of those other accelerator programs.
Yeah,
where
so that's what I assume when you say accelerator program.
The Launchpad was more. It's focused on social enterprises. We like to think that not only ORA, which I'll probably explain to you at some point, listeners, what we're actually doing.
Yes.
But we've got a social goal as well as a financial goal. And that is around health and safety and making workplaces safer. And so that being in that accelerator, going in there as just an idea, it allowed us to actually get really clear about what we wanted to do, how we wanted to do it, and then validate those ideas. And we went out and talked to like 50 organisations, and probably each of us talked to maybe 10 people each over the course of 6 months, on top of like just like the organisational reps. I heard harrowing stories about health and safety and what needs to be done there. But yeah, really, like you were saying, really intense. Like I think my vision, like looking in the wrong end of a telescope, where it just goes down to the single point, and that single point was yesterday with the pitch and and everything.
Well, so that culminated in basically after all that. It was a month of work.
Yes, six months of work, right? Come down to 7 minutes of talking.
So what happened? So you did this. Today is the 1st of April, funnily enough, but you did this yesterday. Your pitch was tonight.
This isn't a joke, by the way.
No,
this is all legit.
Actually happened, and like some of that other stuff, like there's a chocolate shortage, blah blah blah. But typical 1st of April stuff on the internet.
Well, have you seen Google Maps? You can play Pac-Man on it.
Yes, I saw that. That's pretty cool. I haven't had a go yet.
Yeah.
But so what was that pitch like after all those months of just slogging away? Then there's a single few moments is where we're all counted, right?
I mean,
how did that go for you guys?
I guess like any public speaking, it's always a bit nerve-wracking getting up and like having to talk to a very large audience. Like 350 people were there.
And they're all
and the house lights were on.
See you, right? They're all sort of Dragon's Den type scenario, right? They're all trying to
not quite Dragon's Den, but
funders, right? But,
no, not all of them are funders, but like a lot of them were people who either had money or contacts or could put us in touch with people that we needed to talk to. So getting up there on stage, just seeing all those people first off was like just sharp and take a breath. But you know the content. You've got the slides there to help you along. Right. Once you get into the flow of things, it just came out, and I mean, I'm pretty comfortable with talking to audiences personally, but I still find it intimidating. And I've done a few public speaking things before, and so it actually allowed me to not only have the confidence to deliver the pitch to what I think was a pretty high standard, but also like someone yawned during the middle of it, and because our whole shtick is about fatigue and stress, I called them out on it and got some laughs.
That's cool.
Which is pretty cool because it's a pretty heavy subject, and it's good to be able to lighten things up a little bit.
Becomes a bit more interactive too.
Yeah.
So what happens now? So you've pitched, you're biting your nails during that process.
Yeah.
But after that, what happens now? What happens with Aura now?
Well, maybe I should explain what we're doing, right?
That's probably a good idea.
Yeah.
As an interviewer, I should have asked that question earlier on.
Yeah, so lovely listeners. So
what is it all about?
What Aura is doing is we're building a tool, an app, that will allow people who work on safety-sensitive work sites, so forestry, construction, electricity generation, anything where there's an element of risk, and usually bodily risk at this stage, to be able to figure out whether they have their head in the game. What I mean by that is, are they all there cognitively? Are their reaction times up to scratch? Are they? Is their working memory working? And working memory is your ability to store a little bit of information in your brain for a short amount of time.
Okay. So they're up to the task they're supposed to be doing, right?
And so, and going back to that story before about the guy who had an accident and then got fired because he had cannabis in his system. So the thing that actually matters is not whether you've taken drugs or alcohol or anything else. What matters is your cognitive state. Are you impaired? Are you cognitively impaired? Because if you're searching for impairment, it doesn't matter what the cause is, because you're still more likely to have an accident. And so if you look for that root cause, you become less invasive because you don't have to ask people to pee in cups with someone watching over your shoulder. But also you don't. Also, you can stop accidents before they happen, because if someone knows that if they're slightly impaired, that has an effect on their ability and actually primes them to react to that. Right. And if they're so far down that sliding scale of impairment that they shouldn't be operating heavy machinery or chainsaw or juggling torches or whatever it is that they're doing, they can say to their boss, "Hey, look, I can't do this right now. Can I do a lower level task today?"
Okay.
Or it might prompt them to go, "Oh yeah, I didn't actually get enough sleep last night. I need to get more sleep so I can be more effective on the job."
Yeah, so it's not all about, hey, you're on drugs or you're drunk, drunk to work. It's about if you're able to do the task or not. So, yeah, sure, fair enough. You might need extra sleep or a sick day or something.
Yeah.
And this lets you sort of...
Yeah, sick day, annual leave, or if you've got really good employers, they might let you have a nap, which is actually, if it's just tiredness, that's actually a really good... Yeah, it's actually a really good way to mitigate impairment from fatigue. Yeah.
So, have you noticed yet from people that use the app that their productivity has changed?
Well, we haven't got the final product yet. At the moment, we're in prototype stage. So, we've got something that works. It's not very pretty, and the back end of it doesn't quite sync with everything. So, the reason why we were pitching yesterday was to ask for investment so that we can hire designers and devs so that we can spend that time, because it's actually quite a tricky thing. We've got to take the academic research and science around cognitive impairment, reaction time and working memory, take the existing tests that are already there and then translate that into something that works on an iPad in real life situations out in the field, and then crunches the data so that it gives a result that's intelligible to Joe Schmo who works on a construction site and didn't pass NCA level 1.
Right.
There's no.
So it has to be simple.
It's got to be simple.
Yeah.
So when we went out and did our validation stage, we talked to people like builders and guys who work in power stations. They said that it has to be fun, fast, and familiar.
Right.
One guy actually said that. I'm not.
That's cool,
not comm speak on there.
Sounds like comm speak, but the guy on the ground.
Yeah, on the ground. He said it's fun because we've got to want to use it, because otherwise it just becomes another policy thing. Fast because they don't want to be spending 20 minutes doing something for no payoff, and familiar because or you're dealing with like a wide range of mainly guys, but some women too. But in the circumstances we were talking to, mainly guys who generally lower education levels, generally not dexterous tech elites like us with nimble fingers, used to typing on keyboards every day and used to like iPads and all that kind of stuff. So it's got to be familiar.
That's interesting. So that was a bit of a hurdle, trying to make it simple, right?
Yeah,
because you've got so much data that's going to be running around there to make it a simple interface.
Yeah, so what we've kind of come down to is a few scans which measure a couple of those factors. So the first scan that we've used is a really simple snap game. So the card game, because like who doesn't know that? So that's familiar. But also when you think about it, it's measuring your reaction time. So and your concentration. So a card goes down, ace of spades, queen of hearts, queen of clubs, tap.
Right.
And we measure that time in between that second card going down and you tapping, and that's your reaction time. But it's also measuring your concentration because we do it for like 2 minutes, and is that gap getting longer or is it getting shorter? Are you doing
so you see a trend
things?
or not?
And and we're also measuring if you're just going try and get a good thing. Try and get a good,
trying to
good
game
result.
the system.
So there's all sorts of like little bits of data that snap sounds like too easy, right?
Yeah.
But that's as simple as it gets, because when you're trying to solve a problem, you look for the most elegant solution, and it just so happens that Snap is a really elegant solution to this problem.
That's amazing.
We've also got some other things. So that's called a psychomotor vigilance test, to use the scientific
May
term.
need another name for
we call it Snap.
Nice.
But there's also other games like it's called an N-back test, where N equals the number of things back. So going back to a card example, instead of snapping on the one that's directly for it, if it goes queen queen, you'd go snap. If it went queen king queen, you'd snap, because the N is 2 back. So if it's a 2 back test, you can go 3 back. So it would go queen king 3 queen snap. You can make it longer just to see how good people's memories under stressful situations. I mean, there's a whole lot of other games which measure ability to switch tasks, multitask, concentration and stuff. Really, but that's just the first thing that we came up with. Like whack-a-mole's another one to do reaction time. There's just like endless possibilities.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And
great way to do it though. If you gamify it,
And then so what we've envisaged how it will work is, so person logs in, and that's on a multi-purpose device like an iPad or their phone. And then they log in, they answer a series of screener questions like, how are you feeling today? How much sleep did you get last night? How do you think you're going to do on this test? Because actually overestimating your ability is a good sign of fatigue,
right.
or like being impaired. Because generally because when you're impaired, the part of your brain which is telling you that you're impaired is impaired, so you don't quite think about it, and so you go, I'm going to do really well on this test. And it's really cool, because when they finish the test and if they do badly, they go, and it's just like one of those things which makes them realise, oh crap, like I actually aren't functioning properly. So one of those.
It's a bit of a wake-up call for some people who overestimate, right?
And we've got a really bad problem with that. A lot of the guys we talk to when we're out there, like they've got that "she'll be right, mate" attitude. They work a 12-hour shift. They get up at like 5 o'clock. They get ready. They drive into work 30, 45 minutes. Start at 7. They work a 12-hour shift in a stressful, noisy, hot probably workplace. And then they finish their shift, and then they drive 35, 40-minute time. If they don't have an accident while they're at work, then they might have an accident on the way home. Some people we talk to have driven off the road.
Oh, really? So that's much fatigue at the end of the day.
Yeah.
They shouldn't be driving home.
And the guy knew that the company that he worked for offered taxis and a nap space. But he didn't take it because of that "she'll be right" attitude.
Right. Yeah.
And when we asked him, like, well, what would make you reconsider, driving home? And he was like, well, it wouldn't be my boss telling me not to, because I'd just tell him to off. It wouldn't be my mates doing it, because I just want to get home to my family and stuff. I was like, what if there was something objective there that you trusted to do it? And he's like, well, probably think about that.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah. So from there, they do the test. They get a thumb. So it's good thumb, green.
Thumbs up or
Thumbs, middle thumbs.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, you might be edging towards somewhere where you're impaired. Maybe you want to do the test again in like an hour or so, see how you're tracking. And that primes them to know that their reactions and whatnot might not be functioning quite as well.
It gives you an indication, eh?
Yeah,
'Cause
yeah.
personally,
And
you
that-
wouldn't realise until something actually tells you.
Yeah.
Actually, you do need to take a break,
Yeah, and there's like this thing in health and safety, which has been a huge learning curve in itself. It's called the 5x5x5, and that's so you take 5 minutes to stand 5 meters away from something and think about 5 things that could go wrong.
Oh, yeah.
And so like the yellow thing. I mean, you should always be doing that anyway. But the middle thumb, the sideways thumb, is kind of like a prompt that you should be doing that. And then the downwards red thumb is like, well, buddy, like you need to be like reallocated a task, or maybe you need to consider something else. But it's employee focused, so that's a decision that they get to make. Because one of the other bits of feedback was, we don't want our bosses looking into our heads, and the bosses said we don't want to look into our staff's head. So, who knows what we'll find in there. But yeah, so that's kind of like the next bit. So
user driven.
Yeah, so they get the result. They can make it. The employee can make a decision about what they do, and then they whether it might be something like talking to their boss and saying, "Hey, look, I need to be reallocated," or it might just be, "I'm good to go," and then that takes into a dashboard where they can see their performance over time. So actually, we're collecting like a little bit of health data that's owned by that person. It's not owned by the company. It's not owned by us. We store it, but that's where it will be, and they can track their performance over time, see if there are trends. And so another reason we actually came up with this idea, my co-founder Catherine, she had a neurological condition the year before, where if we've been measuring her cognitive function over time, we would have seen a graph with a slow and steady decline.
Okay.
She didn't go to a doctor until she got quite bad, but if we'd been mapping it, she probably would have gone to a doctor, a couple of months earlier. And cognitive functioning is a good bellwether for mental health, physical health in general. So if you've got a downward trend, that's a kick in the butt for you to go, oh, maybe I need to go see a doctor. Or if you're always dipping on Wednesdays, what's happening on Wednesday mornings or Tuesday nights that makes you, is that the night that you go out with your mates and like have a few rounds of pool and like 16 beers or whatever? Maybe not 16. Don't go drink 16 beers. But yeah, so they get access to all that data, and that empowers them.
That's quite cool.
But the employer, they get the data for the team at a team level. So they'll be able to say you've got a team of like 23 people, they're doing like a construction job or something. These guys get in, they get pinged. The boss gets pinged once everyone's done the test that day, and they see, we've got one red thumb, we've got like 2 yellows, and everyone else is fine.
But it doesn't tell you who it is.
No, it doesn't tell you who it is. But that allows them to like proactively minimise risk, because they can have an intervention with the team as a whole, and put the decision to make good health and safety choices on those people who are most likely to be hurt. There's an element of not quite peer pressure, but like social.
It's responsibility, isn't it?
Yeah, responsibility, because it's not just like when you're on a building site or a forestry site or any site, like it's not just your own limbs and life that are on the line, but it's the person standing next to you as well. We really want to encourage those people on the front line making those decisions, because they are the ones who should. It
affects them the most, right?
Policies that come out of like main offices or managers, half of them are there for a really good reason, half of them are there just because they're there.
Just because you need a policy.
Yeah, just because you need a policy. But if people on the front line can actually say, look, here's this tool, it's giving me real-time information about my own state of well-being, and whether I'm actually able to do these things, it's so much more powerful than your boss going, you look tired, Raj, get out of here.
Go home. Yeah. That's amazing. So it's a nice little journey that you've been on so far. That could be I can see a lot of potential for this, for all sorts of applications.
Yeah. So we've been talking to actually, I'll give a special mention. Our first customer signed up.
Oh yeah. Cool.
Contact Energy.
Nice.
So they're doing a pilot program for us. We haven't quite negotiated where and when that will start, but it'll probably be depending on power station availability and stuff and all that other stuff that finer details, probably around June sometime.
That's cool.
And we're going to go in with one of their small teams, 15 or so people, use the first iteration of the tool to give them some indication of where that team is at. And there's other teams there, so good control about what's happening. And then there are a series of other pilots that we're hoping to line up with other companies and other teams within Contact. We'll be able to sort of co-design the tool to make it fit the needs of guys in the field a lot better. And then move to our next sort of iteration of the product before we go to full market sale.
Okay, yeah. So you have a decent case study under the belt.
Yeah, well, hopefully a few decent case studies.
That's
so
cool.
If you're out there and you want
to give it a go,
if you want to give it a go, and you've got a team of people over about 10, then give us a call.
And speaking of which, how can people find you guys online? Where's the best places?
So we are on the internet. You might have heard of this thing.
You hear things. I got a fax about it the other day.
You got a fax?
Yeah.
Oh man, I got a carrier pigeon.
Oh, did you?
Yeah,
It says, the internet's coming.
Yeah. So we've got a website. It's ORA .sh. SH stands for Safety and Health.
Very cool.
So we're there. We're on Twitter at ORA Safety and on Facebook ORA Safety.
ORA Safety.
Yeah.
And where do they find you if they want to talk to you?
I'm on Twitter.
Handle,
My Twitter handle is @_JJW_.
Okay.
And Sam's is @Boolean Value.
That's right.
And none of our other team are on Twitter.
Well, they can find them. You can find them on the website.
You find them on the
profiles
website.
are there.
Yeah, we've got profiles up on the website. We've got links to our About Me pages as well if you want to find out more about the team.
Nice.
And what we're doing.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Thanks for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And I want to get you back on maybe a few months from now and see how it's all going. That'd be great. Thanks a lot for your time.
Mate.
Okay, well that was great. It's amazing how ORA are using data to prevent workplace accidents. It's an amazing sort of angle, and we read into a lot of things, so you've just heard. They also have a web app that gauges if you have too many beersies before you go home. That's one thing I thought we might push out there. And that's also on ora.sh.
Sorry, is that the website?
Yes, that's the website.
Ora.sh?
Yep. Ora.safety and health, isn't it?
Yeah. Ora.sh. Brilliant.
And Jackson and I had a great chat after too, and he has a lot on, and it's amazing how he manages to do it all, It's pretty cool.
These young'uns, mate.
Yeah.
I don't know how they do it.
Yeah.
Talking of young'uns, Dan will love me to introduce him as a young'un. So next week, we have Dan Rando, who has had a diverse technical career. Most people will probably know him as the co-founder and chief bod for the online groups that has been running here for quite a number of years. Based down in Christchurch originally, now based in Nelson. But really what he's the master at, and I've had the pleasure of being a part of one of his sessions, is wrangling teams and sort of working with companies that want collaboration strategies. He's amazing at that.
Oh, yeah.
So it's best to listen to Dan next week, and he'll explain it far better than I just did.
Right. The ending of the show is nigh. Find us on the social networks, of course. Look out for our podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Google+. It's still going, right? Google+, yeah.
It's still going. Yeah. Google's I.O. conference is coming up, probably soon, actually.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there'll be announcements. Photos will disappear after photos. Hangouts is already Hangouts. The stream, I don't know.
It's up to them, right? They're running the place.
Yeah, well,
we just get to use it.
Yes, exactly.
And you can find myself, NZ Raj, on the Twitter as well, and Mike at Miramar Mike. Or you can email us at accessgranted@me.co.nz.
And please don't forget, send your listener photographs in for our Patreon video that we need to do. That'd be great. So tweet them to any of those Twitter handles or the Access Granted at #me.co.nz
and
email address.
They may get tweeted, retweeted. So,
they
go in public, right? So
yeah,
careful with the pictures, people.
Yes.
Hey, and all for the other hashtag goodness, such as the updates and news and prizes, much, much more, go on to #me.co.nz. Thanks for your time, and see you next Tuesday with the Kiwi tech people sharing their own stories. Ka kite anō.
#me.co.nz